Jeff, we haven't seen each other in like 6 weeks. Yeah, a couple years. Yeah. I mean, we haven't seen each other in person since when? I mean, even
bowl
just
game, Nashville, Music
City. Oh,
City
yeah,
bowl
game. Yeah. But during the summer, we all got our vacations. It's the off season. We don't do the shows as much. It's been 6 weeks, maybe 7 weeks since we've done a full IMS radio show. So it's good to be back. And pretty soon we're going to be fully back. In like 2-3 weeks, we'll do a football season kickoff show.
It's about that time.
We do not have Paul Douglas with us at this very second. He will be joining us. And more importantly, right around 7 o'clock, we got the man. We got Mike Locksley, head coach of the Maryland football team, joining us. Very excited about that. Can't wait. You guys had him on the show about, I don't know, 6 years ago. It was in my hiatus. He's never been on the show when I've been on, so I'm very excited to get him on. I got to get his bumper because you guys didn't do that when I was here. That wasn't something you guys did, so I need to get that. I see you texting. Who's texting? Who's committing right now, Jeff?
Nah, I was just tweeting that the show is live.
Oh,
promoting.
Okay, well that's good too. That's good too. But I was hoping it was somebody coming. Yeah.
No, you never know though. Maybe in a few days.
You know what did happen in between these last 6 or 7 weeks? I'm gonna pimp the show a little bit. I did the 5-part series with Ralph Friedgen on the all-time Maryland football team. It didn't get as many views as I was hoping. I thought it might go a little viral. It did. The first one was pretty good. Maybe it's because it's the off season. It's not football. It's the summer. But you guys really need to watch that. Not because of me. You know, I do my thing, whether you guys like me or not, whatever. But you love Ralph Friedgen, and you will love him in this. It's amazing the stories he tells. And the very last story he tells of the very last episode 5 is the most insane, crazy thing I've ever heard about Maryland football. Do you agree, Jeff? This is nuts. How did this happen? Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds almost like something from a movie, but he was amazing, not just in terms of the insight that he shared with you about the best players and coaches and everything, but also all the stories he told were just incredible. I was surprised it didn't. I guess, I'm familiar with the pattern by now. June, July, or nobody's thinking about college football or basketball for the most part.
Yeah, I know.
Things fly under the radar, but I'm sure as the season comes around, we'll get Ralph back on again and have more.
We can promote it again, yeah. A couple of players, though. One, there was a player who replied to one of the episodes talking about it, who we mentioned, and then Dave Salazzo reposted it on X, Twitter, whatever. And so that's kind of cool that I think a lot of the players watched it. So I like that. That's kind of cool. And I'm sure there's got to be 1 or 2 or a handful or 10 that are pissed or sad that we didn't include them. And I apologize for whoever that happened to, but it was good. We need to make a big announcement. Very, very excited about this. The last time we did a live on location show was 2020 or 2021 when they opened against West Virginia. Was it 21?
Yeah, I remember Eric Ayala was our guest, so it's definitely been a few years.
Eric Ayala. We had Sean Merriman. We had who's the music artist? I can't think of his name.
Kane.
Right now. Citizen Kane.
Or,
yes.
I'm sorry, Citizen Cope. Citizen Kane.
Citizen Cope, yes. God.
Citizen Cope, who's really good musician and Loxley's lifelong buddy.
Anyway, that was the last time we did a live on location show. Well, we're doing another one. Not to open the season, but we are going on the road. We're going to be doing a live on location show the Friday night before the game in Charlottesville, Virginia. And I'm going to add someone to the show right now. Our boy, Jay Zoutant. Jay, unmute your mic. Jay Zoutant is a member of the Maryland at 247sports.com message board community. He goes by Jay-Z on the message board. He is the owner of the Lightwell Survey Winery down there, Charlottesville. And we are working in conjunction with him and the athletic department. We're going to do a live on location show. We've already got one guest booked. That's Steve Suter. We're working on some more. Jay, how you doing? Can you hear us, Jay?
I'm
He's in
good.
his car.
I'm hoping I'm coming through okay.
You are coming through. Jay, tell us about
I'm in the
flavor.
car. Is it working over there?
There might be a little bit of a delay, but tell us about the winery.
Are they working all right? So I'm a Maryland boy. Went to Magruder, but we got a winery in Waynesboro, Virginia, about 25 minutes west of Charlottesville. We're producing about 1,500 cases of wine per year. I run it with a Duke boy and a Virginia boy, and I said I'm bringing the Terps down there, and we're gonna rip it up for a couple days. So Friday night, super stoked. We've got crab cakes and all kinds of fun shit going on for food. The boys are going to be broadcasting as this is what we're talking about right now. Got a Basic City Brewery is going to throw some beers out there for us, and we're super stoked to throw it down out there and, kind of whip up on Virginia, I believe is the reason we're heading down there.
Right. Let's hope that happens. They're going to be favored to do that, but we'll see, right? You never know.
Yeah, I mean, like I've been down to a bunch of games in Charlottesville, and I don't know. Have they ever beat us? I was at that horrible game where we were behind like 22 points at halftime, but they didn't win. The good guys won.
Yeah, well, there was a time under God, what was that coach's name? I almost said Outgrow. Not Outgrow. They had a really good coach throughout like the 90s. What was his name? Somebody can remind me in the chat room.
Tom something.
Virginia beat up on Maryland and won something like 10 games in a row. But that's really the only stretch they were dominant over Maryland. Someone will remember. He was a really good coach for them. They won the ACC once or twice, and we're always going to big bowl games. But yeah, so very excited about the event. Steve Suter's coming in. We're working on some others. We're trying to look for some ex-players. We'll let you guys know.
Suter's rolling with us, rolling down there with us.
He's not driving down there with us, but but we do have to. The funny part is when I asked him to do the show, he had two stipulations. One, that he got a ride to the winery, and two, that we paid his bar tab. I said, okay, yeah, sure, let's go. So Steve Suter, when we get more guests, we'll let you guys know. So Jay, anything else about the winery or anything?
I appreciate the opportunity and super stoked to get it down, and Ben and his gang and all of my boys are going to be there, and I think we're currently at 75 people confirmed. We can only hold 125. It's wide open and free. Come buy beers. Come listen to you boys talk about the Terps. And let's do it, man. It's going to be super fun. We're super excited for it. And we got the Maryland NIL program coming out and doing like a 50-50. We may get some other Terp boys out there to raise some more money. But, let's take over Charlottesville. Let's show them what we do up here just south of Mason-Dixon line. Because, apologies, but fuck Virginia. even though I got a winery there. Sorry.
Hey, it wasn't me, Jeff. It wasn't me. Hey, I didn't know it only held 125. That's news to me. I'm just hearing that for the first time. So, if you're coming down on that Friday night, let's get there early. Do people need to buy tickets, Jay?
No, we're keeping it wide open. If it gets a little nuts, we'll dial it in and you'll see it on the board. But right now we're like, just come on out, have fun, support the Terps, support NIL, support what you, Jeff, and Larry are doing, and like let's just have a great weekend, man. We're gonna kill it on Saturday, and the super cool thing is that, like, talking to Ben about like the tailgate party on Saturday and saying, hey, we're going to throw this giant party. And we reached out to Matt and Kelly in the AD and said, hey, we want to kick it. And they said, you know what, we'll get it done. And that's why they're selling the tickets right now for what I think it's about $100 a ticket for lower level seats. That includes a game ticket as well as the tailgate. And like, just so you're clear, the university is not making money on that deal. It's $100 a head just for the tailgate. But Matt and Kelly said, we're going to cover it. We want to get everybody on the same page. We want to have a great freaking party. And we said, let's do that. And so it's going to be an incredible weekend. I'm bringing 30, 40, 60 guys.
Yep.
We're all bringing everybody. And I think there's at least 200 plus tailgate tickets sold so far on Saturday. So it's going to be fun. Let's just whip up on them. I think we call them the swaying sissies.
All right. Well, we are very excited for that. We cannot wait. Everybody, if you're planning that weekend, come down early. We're going to be at the Lightwell Survey Winery. We're going to make a big post about this on the board. We'll have all the information there. It's in conjunction with Jay. It's in conjunction with Maryland, with the NIL program, and with Ben, with Old Line Tailgate. That's right. So this is going to be awesome. Hey, Jay, thank you so much for joining us. As we get going, we're going to post this thread and we'll all be active in there. We can be answering questions and all that kind of stuff. So thank you, Jay.
Thank you, boys. Appreciate what you do. Let's go Terps. All right.
All right. See ya. That was Jay Zouton. He's Jay-Z on the message board.
What a perfect name combo to be alive with the Jay-Z.
Yeah. Very, very excited. William Ginsburg just joined the chat and said, what's up, guys? We just announced that we are going to do a live on location show down in Charlottesville the night before the UVA game. So our show will be September 13th. That's a Friday night from 6 to 8. The game is Saturday the 14th at 8 p.m. There's a tailgate and all that stuff beforehand. So that is our big announcement. We're super excited. Not even just that. We're 1 month from games, Jeff. Exactly today, August 31st. Today's July 31st. So we're getting there.
About time. By this point in the summer, it's like, all right, summer was fun. Did my little trips. Let's get football going.
We have almost made it through our long national nightmare. Okay. Jeff, we have Loxley coming on, everybody, in 16 minutes at 7 o'clock. Before we get to that, let's cover some recruiting stuff. But let's jump to basketball. I know everybody's really excited about that because there's all kinds of names percolating. The current class is kind of done, right? It's totally done. There's no chances of any more.
No, the roster is set for this year. Every scholarship is accounted for. Now it's kind of getting down to the uneventful babysitting part of the summer for college basketball coaches, where you're unlikely to find new guys that you love. You have an idea you want, but you have to go to every AAU game of theirs just so they can see you on the sideline. So it's, a pretty familiar list. Obviously, Chris Jeffrey, the point guard from Mount Zion, has arguably become their top guard target during the past few months. He's risen that list pretty steadily. He's been in for an official visit. He'll be back for an unofficial before long. He has a few more planned. I reported some info on him on the site today. In the front court, I think their best shot is, and maybe their highest overall priority, is Jordan Scott from South Lakes High School in Reston, Virginia. His mother, Christy Winters Scott, obviously was a star women's player at Maryland. Pretty much, it seems like it could be Maryland and Michigan State battling that one out, although, I'm not sure if Michigan State is prioritizing him. So I like where Maryland stands with him. He's a 6'8" forward, can really shoot it, skilled guy, really high upside. I think he's number 54 in our rankings right now. Those are two of the main guys. Omari Witherspoon from DC is another guy who's really climbed during the past month or two, really off the radar nationally until the summer. Plays for DC Premier, which is an Under Armour program that's been good to Maryland. That's where Melo Trimble came from. He'll be a little later on in terms of visits. So those are three of the main guys. I don't think they'll take a big man, most likely. I think they'll wait for the portal for that. Obviously, they're not on the list for a couple of those big locals, Eric Ryby and Caden Lewis from Sidwell Friends. Those guys have kind of faded. I think Tyler Jackson, the guard from Baltimore, who's close friends with Derek Queen, who, as you recall, Derek told us on the show, he predicted that would be their next commit. I think he might have faded a little bit on their list. There's still some other moving pieces. You never know how many high school guys you're going to take, because the portal is always at the forefront in terms of strategy. So, things are going to pick up there pretty soon now with guys starting to do official visits.
I mean, in some ways, it makes a lot more sense to get portal guys than freshmen, because you have some idea how they can perform at a college level. It's got to be way less volatile in terms of, right?
Yeah, that's a supply. Yeah, there's no question about that, but that also makes them more valuable and harder to get. All the coaches want ready-made players. So,
right.
As you've seen in the portal, they've gotten some nice players, but when it comes to those superstar guys who are going to Kansas and wherever else, they're tough to get because of what you just said. Everybody wants 22-year-old grown men who've shown what they can do at this level.
Yeah. Well, I think it seems like the strategy is to have a mix, bring in the freshmen who you can develop over time, and some of them are going to work out, some are not, and they're going to transfer, but that's kind of okay now. Like, just bring them in and see what happens. And the ones who stick, great. The ones who don't, fine, you replace them, right? That's kind of the game now, right?
That's it. It's the level of player movement has got to be, 500% what it was like 15 years ago. So,
well, the transfer rules, right?
Yeah.
So,
and NIL also, and
right.
rampant tampering with no penalties. So it's a whole different ball game. But now that this revenue sharing thing is around the corner, I think that's going to really even things out and maybe keep some guys in place a little bit more, when that starts.
Yeah. What do you hear? Are you hearing anything behind the scenes because there's the lawsuits, there's, like you said, the revenue sharing. Obviously, the conference realignment has huge ramifications in terms of payouts. And they're talking about forcing the colleges to pay a certain amount of money per school. Like, it's so insane. Is there any way to kind of know at all how this is playing out, or we're just going to see, and in 5 years, it's going to kind of work itself out, and then we have a new paradigm to deal with?
I'm sure the ADs and some people at the NCAA, maybe if they're not like sleeping on the floor under their desks, would probably have a better idea than me, but I don't know if anybody truly knows where it's going to go. There's, like you said, with so many lawsuits and other factors in play, and will they be considered employees and all these other factors? Like, you couldn't have seen it going where it is now, where there's schools, there's collectives paying recruits to take visits. There's kids getting $5,000 to take a visit somewhere now. So nobody could have seen that coming. So who knows what's next? But obviously, it sounds like more streamlined revenue sharing, maybe with a little more control, and rules. But we shall see.
More power to the kids for working within the system, but that's insane.
I wouldn't take
crazy.
I mean, imagine just take a bunch of visits and
yeah,
$25,000 over the summer, $40,000 as a high school kid. Help out your family and go be treated like a king. I mean, that's amazing. And
yeah,
you know what? If that's what the market says that they can demand, then that's just the way it is. There's no more artificial limits at play, for better or worse. So,
but maybe they are instituting some artificial limits with the revenue sharing and those kind of things. But some artificial limits seem necessary, right? Like,
yes,
professional leagues that have free agency, they have contracts and they have some rules restricting player movement, because it's chaos without it, right? You need some structure, There's got to be some so that you know what the rules are and you can operate within the structure. I guess the lack of structure is technically a structure too, but it doesn't
Anarchy is a system, technically, I guess, right?
Yes, exactly. It just seems untenable, but at the current moment, you have to operate within it. But at some point it feels like they have to put in some controls.
They will. It's so early in the infancy. Now that you're going to get actual official revenue streams, not just, from the universities, from the TV money, not just collectives throwing around money and things like that. It'll sort itself out. It will evolve into whatever the best version of it is. I would hope.
Yeah. And then you're going to have the same schools pre-NIL that were doing the under the table stuff. They're just going to be doing that again. We're going to be right back where we were, right?
Well, and now it looks like they're going to go up from 85 scholarships per team to 105. So that's what's going to be. I mean, I like it for the content. That's probably five more recruits a year we can write about, right? I'll take it.
Yeah,
but
that's great
otherwise,
for you.
That's a lot of dudes for one team. I think 11 play at a time, right? 105 is huge, but if the money's there and they think, that it'll help the game.
If you're one of the power brokers in college football, Ohio State and Bama and Georgia, et cetera, and you've got tons of money, Texas, do you throw money at players and just stash them? And it's like, and then your rivals don't get them? Like, is that kind of, you think that like it could happen,
Probably,
right? Like,
probably. I mean, some of these schools, Oregon, they have endless NIL money.
Yeah.
So you probably try, and then obviously some guys, they're going to want to play no matter what. You can't pay, I wouldn't think, an ungodly sum for a guy just so nobody else can have him, but who knows? I don't know. I mean, it's uncharted territory.
Well, in particular, I'm thinking about quarterbacks in football because right now you have quarterbacks that don't want to be a backup. They want to go get somewhere where they can play and start. But if you're Texas or Oregon and you're like, here's $1 million to sit on our bench, don't go play for the rival, stay here until we're ready to play you. That's exactly in my head. I think that's what's going to happen. Don't you?
It's possible. That'd be a good question to ask Lox. I was going to ask him what he thinks about the new scholarship limit.
I got an NIL for him too. NIL related question.
Just promise me it's not how much are you paying player B this year, and is it monthly, weekly, and what's he spending it on?
It's actually like way down my ranking of questions. Because I'm sure you guys, well, I don't know how much you prepare, but I usually have about 10 for each guest, and they're kind of ranked. And if you guys take one of them, I just kind of cross them off the list.
If you guys take one, I just get pissed off inside my head and scramble, panic to try to
for
come
something
up with
else.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I got to write it. You see my agendas. They're all like very elaborate and like.
You are very much more organized than me, Larry.
Yeah. So, yeah, well, it started because years ago, one of our very first episodes, we had Naki on. I've told this story before, but we had Naki on and we were asking him questions. He was maybe the very first guest, and a former assistant of yours who was on the show with us was supposed to go. We have an order. We have our pregame show, our pregame, and we set everything up, and he was supposed to go. He did not go. And so I panicked to cover the dead air. And I jumped into asking Naki, what do you think about the Rashid Suleiman rape allegations? and he was like, I don't want to talk about that. And I was like, oh God. Anyway, so
that's
ever
not
since
your best,
then,
though. The best was Jeffrey Pooler, the football recruit.
Are you going to get any bigger?
Yeah.
I'm not even that embarrassed about that.
No, I mean, mostly it was just us busting your balls, but it was funny at the time because he very awkwardly answered, if I recall. But he didn't end up at Maryland. He decommitted and went to West Virginia. So
and then ended up not doing much, right? But the thing is, that's on everybody's mind, right? Are they going to get taller? Are they going to put on
for
more
a lineman?
Weight? Yeah. or a basketball player too. Are you gonna grow anymore? Like, right? You're gonna get any more inches because inches matter in basketball, your height, right?
You're
So
just
like
making it worse now. You've got a gift.
come on, man. See, that's your head is in that area. They're not
My wife's
mine.
the same. Yeah, you're right. You're right. That is probably me. Are we talking recruiting now before Locks, or are we going to talk that after? I guess we got 5 minutes.
We were already talking recruiting and we went off on a tangent, which want to do on the show. Hopefully it wasn't that awful for anybody. But okay, yeah, go ahead back to basketball recruiting then.
That's what I said for basketball is pretty much it. Football obviously has been
crazy
active.
Crazy.
Top 30 class right now. Huge announcement coming up in a couple days.
Huge announcement coming up in a couple days. Is that a hint, Jeff?
I mean, it could be. Jalen Gilchrist, number 93 player in the country, number 3 interior offensive lineman from Virginia Beach. He's going to announce from between Maryland, Georgia, South Carolina, and I think Maryland has a good shot there. Obviously, to get top 100 recruits don't come to College Park that often, and when you put a top 100 recruit inside of a class that's already significantly looking better than the typical Maryland class, you might have the special year that they've been envisioning with this master plan that I've been writing about and reporting on for a while. So things have gone really well for them this summer.
And an offensive lineman to boot, which has been it's been a struggling area over the past few years for Maryland just to try to keep up, to have an offensive lineman ranked that highly. Who was it? Derwin Gray, and who was the other one? Damian Prince. They were both 5 stars, and they both ended up being good.
They were solid
players, but not the level 5 players.
No, they were solid. They were good. They were good above average starters, but they weren't. Damian Prince was a 5-star. He's one of the top 5 highest rated recruits they've ever had. Other than those are the only 2 really blue chip offensive linemen I can like.
Whose name popped into my head? Was his name Carlos Feliciano? Wasn't he a very highly rated offensive lineman that committed to Maryland? And then
I remember the name. I don't think he was nearly as high as those guys. I mean, Damian Prince was top 25-ish. So anyway, they Malik Washington obviously is the centerpiece of the class, as everybody knows, quarterback Spalding, and they've been looking for that ripple effect. This has been the plan all along, to make him the centerpiece of this class. Lox always talks about peer pressure and recruiting, peer validation, all those kind of things, and that's clearly working this year. And they wanted to kind of have a ripple effect on these other recruits, and it has. They're keeping more of the local guys at home. They have another guy, Bryce Jenkins. If you look at the composite, I think he's their highest rated recruit, even higher than Malik Washington, the defensive tackle from DC. They still have a really good chance also with the Messiah Delhomme, who's a 4-star safety from Virginia, who has Ohio State, Alabama, a bunch of others there very much in that one too. So, it's looking like a breakout year for them in recruiting, which is what they needed.
All right. Lox is supposedly joining any minute now. Before he does, gun to your head. Messiah Delhomme and God, what's his name? The guy we're just talking about.
Jalen Gilchrist.
Jesus, I'm getting old. Okay. Your gun to your head. What's your prediction on those 2 guys?
I feel pretty confident they'll get at least one out of the 2. Then they could get both. If they get both, I think you were telling me, you were toying with it. We have a class calculator at Inside MD Sports where you can add players to the class, look what the total class points would be, and then see where they'd rank with that. Obviously, it's compared to where the other teams are now. Other teams are going to add recruits too, but as of where things stand right now, nationally, if they were to get both of those, they'd have the number 24 class, which top 25 classes, they had that one in 2017, which ended up being a total bust. Almost nobody lasted before that. Maybe in the early Ralph years, they might have had one from what I recall, but otherwise the top 25, it's not been a place that they've visited often for obvious reasons.
Actually, I just checked. They're sitting at 29th right now. When I checked, it was a day or 2 ago. If they got both of them, they would jump to 20th. One of them
wow.
would put him, one of them would put him around 24th, but I think there's been a little bit of movement, so it might be like 21st and 25th now, something like that. If they get two, both they're 21st, they get one, they're at like 25th-ish, something like that. Either way, really, really good. Is there anybody else in the 4-star area that's a possibility right now?
There's a few guys that they'd love to flip. Most of the remaining 4 stars, other than those 2 guys, are committed elsewhere, like Jeff Exenor, receiver from Baltimore, who's committed to Penn State. I'm sure they'll keep trying on him, handful of other guys, but it's starting to thin out. They have 20 commitments, I think, now, and you're probably not going to take more than 26 or 27 high school commitments, so you have to be really selective at this stage, especially when you're doing as well as they are and you don't have to reach for a lot of kids.
William Ginsburg, our boy, he runs the bowl game tailgates, confirms for us that in 2021 they were 18th. Yeah, and that was largely due to because it was just a massive class too. Part of it was a huge class. Remember that? Yeah, not many worked out. We are waiting for Mike Locksley to join us. He was supposed to join at 7. Any other recruiting news in terms of football or basketball before he gets here? Nothing football-wise? What about the 26s?
26, actually, I was going to write about that today, and there were some other things going on, so I'll be writing about it. But 26 rankings came out, and DC, DMV has always been talent-laden. People started realizing that about 20 years ago. But this class, you have I think they have 2 guys in the top 5 from Maryland, several other Maryland and DC guys in the top 50 or top 100. So, it's way too early to really say who they're going to get, but there's a lot of opportunity to get more blue chip recruits in that class.
I mean, if they follow up a top 25-ish class this year with another one next year, that's when you start talking about a legit team that can be in the top 25 for real. When you back to back, when you back it up and you start having the depth to withstand the season, because generally Maryland can kind of pop out a first team that's pretty competitive with even the biggest teams. But when you start getting into depth, it becomes an issue over the course of the season. And even within games with, rotating players and stuff like that, that's where it's been Maryland's issue keeping up. But if they can do that in succession, then maybe Maryland starts getting to where.
Yeah, I mean, they're starting to get a little bit of that sizzle factor. Lox, I think, is getting on right now.
Yeah, he is. I was going to let you finish your comment, but we're going to add Coach Mike Locksley to the show right now.
Can't do it. Can't see him.
There he is. Coach Lox, how you doing?
Okay, what's up, fellas? How y'all doing? I'm trying to get my camera set up so I don't have to look at my TV over here and see if I can slide the screen over here.
Hey.
Real quick, here we come. There you go.
You're looking good lately. You might want to look at yourself in the screen, man. You've been losing.
Look like white walls on the trash truck, man. Some white walls on the trash truck over here.
Hey,
what's up, Jeff?
What's up, Lox? How you doing, man?
I'm good. Let me see if I can turn some volume up here. There we go. What's up?
We appreciate you jumping on here after media day. I know how crazy it is for you. So what's the vibe? Just seems so positive. The culture, you guys are the only Power 5 team, Power Conference team not to have anybody transfer in the spring. What can you put your finger on as like the transition of this culture? Was there a specific time where you saw something and you realized like the program has taken another step just in terms of its, winning mentality and lack of distractions and things like that?
Yeah, no, as I said before, Jeff, I think the biggest point is the leadership coming from the locker room. I mean, when I talk about us being comfortable and confident, I keep saying that because I don't want people to think it's comfortable as if we've arrived. But we really have a good understanding of who we are. And I think when people say that if you really want to know who you are, go through some stuff. And this team has been through some stuff together the last 3 seasons and have had some opportunities to really put ourselves in a position to where, we can take the next step. But I think, we got a group of leaders in the locker room now that, because they had a small taste of just how close they were, they have this thirst to get over the hump. And, I think it starts with the mentality that you got to believe you can get over the hump. Muhammad Ali said he was the champion of the world before he ever won one. And I think that, something contagious about positivity. And, I used to work with the late Trevor Moawad, and one of the things Trevor used to always say to me, and that's where the best is ahead came from, was, you know what, Lox, negativity is 7 times more powerful than positivity. And so if you spend your time on the negative, all you're doing is reinforcing those values within your team. And so I've been talked about in a lot of ways. I've been told I wasn't good enough, told that we couldn't win at Maryland, and I don't listen to it. As I said on media day, my give a crap gauge is on E. You can make fun of the dream of winning the national championship and competing for championships that we have here at Maryland, but I think the reality is we finished 5th in this league the last couple of years, and I know we've added some really good teams to the mix, but you know what? I've never been okay with being the rest of y'all. And so we want to break up the status quo with, and the only way you can do it is by thinking the way that I feel right now. And I'm rejuvenated. The energy level's up. I'm back on the front line as a position coach. And, we've got recruiting kind of off to a good start, but now we've got to put the work in. And the talking is done. Media day on the national one, our local one. And now we got to get to doing the work.
Love the mindset, Coach. And you're talking about building the program. You've done an amazing job at that. 3 straight bowl games, 3 straight bowl wins, first time in Maryland history. So that's awesome. And the last 40 years of Maryland, apart from some years with Coach Friedgen, have not been good. So you've done an amazing job getting a program stabilized and kind of reestablished to this bowl level program. You're talking about winning championships, and I love that. And a lot of the fan base loves to hear that. What are the next steps? You just lost Talia, but you're building the whole program. What are the next steps? How do we keep eking that upward?
Yeah, I think, again, we've talked about this. And, when you talk about the next step as a coach, everybody's like, well, what is it? Well, we've kind of hit that ceiling where we went from a C student to a B student. All right. We've gone from a 70 average to where we're like a low 80 to 83. And I was listening to this clip on social media. I showed it to the team yesterday in our first meeting where Will Smith talked about when they were making the first Bad Boy, and when they had that pre-screening, he's sitting there and he's like, man, this is 90% there. We're really close. And the director said to him, well, that's a good thing, because that means we're 50% away from getting to being where we want to be. And that's about sums up where we are as a football program right now. I mean, we won, and we show up and can go to bowl games if we do things the right way. But to take that next step, the one thing that really jumps out to me is, because of the landscape, a lot of players coming into the program maybe have a little bit of an entitlement. And what I've tried to focus our energy on is, what is the sacrifice you're willing to make for Maryland football? For us to get over this proverbial 8-9, December 28th, December 31st bowl games to the January one or better, it's going to take some tremendous sacrifice. Will said it in that little clip. He said, you might have to eat differently. It's not easy to go from B to A as it was to go from C to B. And so what you need to do to get there is, there's going to be a tremendous sacrifice. And, people have made a lot about the weight I've lost. Well, I've done this to show my team that I'm going to sacrifice, being the fat guy who sits in here and watches film all day and maybe doesn't take his health as important as I stress to those guys. And it's been a sacrifice for me. I got to go to bed earlier to get a workout in the morning. I've got to eat right. I've got to change. If I want to go from 8-win coach to an 11-win coach, 10-win coach, I may have to do things differently. And that's what I've embraced. And it's permeating through the locker room. And everybody knows I had everybody on our team write down, what's the one sacrifice you're willing to give for your team? And we put it on paper, and now we've got to hold each other accountable. Does that mean we're going to win or guarantees we're going to do? No, it doesn't. But it's not going to be for lack of trying or lack of believing that we can.
Love it.
Mike, I'm not going to ask you about the quarterback situation, because everybody's asking that. Everybody's already heard your answers 100 times. The offensive line, though, is to me, obviously, and you know better than me, but that's probably the other biggest concern on the team. What have you seen from these new guys after you lost all 5 starters? Any of the transfers jumping out, or any of the guys who are sliding up the depth chart who are really kind of making their presence?
Yeah, you know,
felt?
it's funny you brought this up, because in the midst of, you know, our media day today, and by the time I came off the field, you know, we've used the transfer portal, in my opinion, the way that best fits us. And when I talk about knowing who we are, you know, we've done a lot better out of the portal with guys coming up, those guys that see this as a great opportunity and not as if, you know, hey, I'm transferring down to Maryland. I like guys coming up that can come and bring a story about, hey, man, we didn't have snacks after practice. We didn't have smoothies waiting for us at St. Francis University. This is no knock on St. Francis. So I hate comparing, but I use this as an example. The resources we have here compared to where some of these guys coming up had, I like them telling that story to my team. Some of these guys that were recruited their whole life from 8th grade to high school, and then from high school to now. And when you bring in guys that can say, man, you know what? We got one pair of cleats that we had to wear for the whole season. And now, you know, because of being here, they've got multiple pair being given to them. I want those guys to tell the story to this current team. And so the portal's been good to us, especially on the O-line. And this year we brought in Lou Ball, we brought in Josh Kaltenberger, we brought in Alan Haran, we brought in Isaiah Wright, which, and I know we're putting something out, and I was asked about him after practice, and I forgot to even mention, but, you know, we bring a transfer guy in from Buffalo, and he has a lower leg extremity injury where he's not available now. You know, but unlike the NFL, we don't have a waiver wire. We can't go pick somebody up and bring them in for 2-3 months until we get him back and ready to go. So I like the way that the O-line is coming together, because we signed a big group of high school guys, and I just got finished watching practice 1, and you start seeing some of these freshmen on our 3rd and 4th unit, and it's like, well, who's this number? And we are going to expedite the growth like we had to do with the D-line. If you look at our D-line today compared to what it looked like 2 years ago, I mean, it's night and day. And it takes about 3 years to grow high school players. We've kind of made the right decisions on portal guys, which has given us the ability to develop that O-line. And, you know, I'm going to tell you, one of the best moves we made was being able to hire Robo to come in and help with the O-line. And then Brian Ferentz, who was an analyst, and now they can coach. You know, I got Ron Zook back as an analyst for special teams, and to have the ability to have these type of guys coaching, you know, Corey Leggett, who was a 1st-round draft pick for us at Illinois, is here working as an analyst with our D-line, much like Navarro Bowman did 2 years ago, last year and the year before, and now he's the full-time linebacker coach in San Diego, well, you know, or the LA Chargers or whatever they are now. So being able to bring in these extra coaches to be able to help the develop or expedite the development is going to be critical for us.
You mentioned the D-line. There might not be that superstar guy, that Sean Merriman type, or whoever, what have you, but to me, it feels like this is the deepest, most experienced, most physically impressive crew you've had in that front 7 since, like, maybe the Ralph years, possibly. Is that?
Yeah, being around Ralph's first 3 years, I can tell you that this is eerily similar. I hate comparisons. It's the kiss of death, but just the comps, very comparable when you look at some of the skill. And again, we're just young. And so a lot of these guys haven't had the opportunities to play as much, and on some of the younger pass rush guys, but the interior pieces, the Tommy King-Basotes, the Tajay Johnsons of the world, and, you know, Jordan Phillips, those guys are battle tested. We've got great depth behind those guys with young players like Lavon Johnson and Dylan Fontes. You know, Daniel Owens has really come on for us, and Quayshawn Fuller now kind of has played some of the jack, some of the sand, but now he's one of those explosive interior pass rushers, and it's helped us.
Coach, when you get back to the mindset stuff you're talking about recently, I love that stuff. And you made a tweet recently, still called a tweet, whatever it is on X, whatever. But you made a tweet where you talked about how when you first started, there was one person dedicated to mental health issues, and now there's 5, I think. Can you elaborate on that? Because I think that's like such important stuff.
Yeah, I mean, when I first got here, obviously, the mental health stuff has been a big part of my life because I dealt with a son that dealt with it, and a Division I football player, Miko was, and I always say his name to keep his name alive. But because of it, I saw something that really bothered me because I saw a look in his eyes that I had seen before, but didn't necessarily recognize. And I saw it in former players at other places I've been in Maryland. And so when I first got here, one of the first things I learned and from being at Alabama and seeing how Coach Saban used Dr. Lonnie up in Michigan, and we had a host of other mental health professionals. We had a full-time person that worked just with the football team. They did sports performance. They did mental health. I just believe that if you can get some of these players that we recruit, and I grew up like some of these guys. I mean, imagine the first time sitting in a classroom with somebody outside of your race when you get to college. And I grew up in D.C., and it was like the first time I kind of ever sat in the classroom. It was a culture shock for me going to Towson, which is 45 minutes up the road. And imagine if you have the ability to unpack some of that luggage of things. And, this day and age with the kids we deal with, they've got a lot of money. They've got people that are pulling on them. They have so many responsibilities that an 18-year-old typically doesn't have. And so I'm a big believer that if you're able to get those guys to unpack that luggage and show them that you care about them, not just as the football player, but as a person and as a whole. I mean, those guys, they'll run through a brick wall for you. And I'm very fortunate that Damon and Colleen and my bosses believed that it was important to add people to help these players unpack the luggage, number one, that they may be bringing, but also to give them resources. I mean, one of the best players that benefited from it was a guy like Jacorian Bennett. All right, you think about JB, and, he had a rough 2 years from a standpoint of playing the ball down the field, confidence, and he came back for that COVID year, and he really invested in the time and the mental part of it with, Dr. Hall and all the doctors that work with our guys on mental performance and sports performance and not just unpacking luggage. And he worked himself to where he got drafted and has a routine to help him continue to be a good football player.
Mike, I've been doing a bunch of preseason interviews with Big Ten media wanting to know about the team this year. And I think the most common question they keep asking me, well, with Talia gone, how's the offense going to change? I can't speak for you. My answer has been probably not that much. He's going to do what he's done for a long time, but does it change at all? Do you think maybe you go a little more toward the run this year, or do you think, one of these guys can be able to fill that role?
Every year that's the goal as a head coach. That's what I'm tasked with the job of figuring out how do we win in all three phases. And if you think back to what I always describe this offense is balance doesn't mean run at 50% and pass at 50%. Balance means developing the ability to do both really well. And we always strive to do that. It's a Ralph Friedgenism. Balance is, if I got to run it 60 times and win it, do we have the ability to do that? If I got to throw it 60 times, do we have the ability? Where you get in trouble is when you can only do one and you have to play left-handed, and now you find yourself in a little bit of trouble. Well, as we embark on figuring out who the next quarterback's going to be, the one thing Leah did leave, besides setting this foundation, but he also left a legacy of how you prepare to win as a quarterback, because his preparation was second to none when he was in this building and on the practice fields and in the shell. He really worked at it, and he showed these young quarterbacks. We've had the ability to recruit. Every quarterback in this room was brought here by me. When I got here, you inherit some guys that maybe don't fit the skill set that you need for your system, and you adjust it. But every quarterback in the QB room was recruited to this system, and so we're going to do what we do. A young quarterback's best ally is a good defense and a run game to hang your hat on. So, of course, I want to run the ball better. I think if you look at what we've done the last few years, we've created explosive plays, but we haven't run the ball consistently enough to be able to take some pressure off the quarterback. And we'll work to try to be better at running it, but we do have some skilled receivers, tight ends, and backs that if you get the ball in space, some of the things we do in a passing game are just extended runs.
And I know you have to run for a meeting, Mike, but these people would be mad at me if I didn't ask at least one recruiting question. So what's been Maryland's had several of these movements, most of them engineered by you, where you guys kind of caught a lot of momentum with local guys. This year, though, feels a little bit different with the success you're having than most of those other times. Obviously, it's a long way till signing day, but what's been the biggest key in this kind of breakout recruiting cycle?
Your biggest allies in recruiting are the players in your program, and we've been able to bring some local players and develop them to where you see guys like Deonte Banks become a first-round draft pick. All right, you see some of these guys and some of the success that they've had that have come through this program over the last few years. We've had 7 players drafted the last 2 years out of here. All right, we've earned 104 degrees since I've gotten here. We've done over 700 hours of community service the last year alone. And I think I was selling a vision when I came here 6 years ago, 5 years ago, and to be able to show the vision come to fruition now gives us the ability to see tangible results and not just a dream. And, the dream moves up because I want to find a way to compete for Big Ten championships, which puts us in position to compete for national championships. And we got a bunch of friends here, whether it's local, and now the Big Ten has become a national brand. And, we've got to adjust with it. Every time you expand the room, it gives you a chance to maybe get a new perspective, a new way of doing things, to see how other people do things. And, that's been one of the benefits of being here at Maryland, because we know about having to pivot and having to adjust quickly to things because we haven't always had the built-in advantages or resources. And I always say, I'm Benita Loxley's son, man. She figured out a way to make ends meet. She figured out a way to, get me to where I needed to be in the position I'm in today. And I take that same approach with this team.
Actually, one more. How important is it for these fans to jump on board this year, pack the stadium, support your NIL program? The best is ahead, and really get that support that you guys have, I think, earned with this, successful development of the program.
Yeah, again, I'm not here to call out the fans, but I am to say everything matters. And, for us to compete for Big Ten championships, it isn't just on me anymore or this team to do it. I mean, I'm going to do my part, but I can't sit in the stands and get there early and bring people with me and encourage people. I mean, everything matters. And if, we're going to have this dream of winning and competing for Big Ten championships, it starts with creating an environment. And yeah, I know, win some big games, Lox. I hear you. But guess what, man? We're doing our part to try to win some big games. How about you show up for the UConn game and let's fill it up and create this environment so that the recruits, when they come, they know we have a fan base that win, lose, or draw. Because I promise you, we're going to do our part to create and try to find a way to put ourselves in position. And yeah, we'll face some adversity. We may lose a couple games here or there. And if we do, you know what? We'll learn the lesson from the failure and we'll take the next step the next week. Because that's one of the things that I think our team has embraced, that nobody's going to give us nothing. All right. Nobody's going to give us anything. We're going to have to take it or earn it. And I'm all right with both.
Coach, we asked one thing of everybody who joins the show. Could you do us a favor and say, this is Mike Locksley, and you're listening to IMS Radio?
This is Michael Locksley, and I am listening to IMS Radio.
Thank you, Coach. If you got 30 seconds, I know you're very proud of the National Coalition of Minority Coaches. You're the founder. Tell everybody how to get involved with that so you can plug your coalition.
Well, it starts with the coaches from high school, youth football, all the way up to the NFL. It's an organization that's grown steadily. We've become probably one of the more powerful minority organizations, and I know there's been a lot of things working away from DEI. I'm not here to say hire minority coaches. I'm here to give us the resources, or these coaches the resources, by preparing them, promoting, and producing, hopefully for the next Mike Locksley coming up through the ranks, because, I'm on the back nine, man. You probably got 10 good years out of me, and then I'm going to come do what y'all are doing.
All right. Thank you, Coach.
All right, guys. Talk soon.
Thanks, Mike. Appreciate you.
All right, Jeff. Appreciate you.
See ya.
Great stuff, right?
Coach Loxley, we kept doing the one more to him, one more. He was like, guys, but I think he appreciated the last one more I did for him there. So you got to plug his.
I got a text toward the end that he had to jump into a team meeting. I guess that's more important than us. Like,
is it? Come on, no, it's not. What are you talking about?
Yeah,
come on.
Hey, but that was good. Good. I mean, he said a lot of these things already. He's done a million interviews lately, so you're not going to get some big breaking news. He's not going to give away who he's leaning to in the quarterback race or anything, but you can tell he's got like a newfound energy. Like he's not as beaten down when you're losing.
it's kind of like he's got a little chip on his shoulder in a different way. Like, hey, come support me, MFers. Like, let's go. Look what I've done. Now jump on board and help me get the rest of the way there.
Yeah, he's not gonna. Like he said, he's not gonna call out the fans, but
right.
Yeah, anybody would be a little frustrated. 8 wins, 3 years, or bowl wins 3 years in a row for a program that was really struggling, and still not getting quite the support that you'd like to have, especially when you really need it in this arms race era of college sports. So hopefully for their sake, the stadium is more full this year, and they get it's hard. It's hard getting Maryland fans fired up about football. I know as well as probably almost as well as he does. But I do think, what he said, Lox beat a big, that they do, get that one big win. And I think that's when you really get people, believing.
One person who's fired up is our boy, Antoine Cuff. Look at that. There we go. Antoine Cuff donating to the cause. Thank you very much. Maybe we'll finally get Jeff that extra special microphone we've been promising for years. Okay, hang on. He put up all these hashtags. Mm-hmm. We're gonna make fun of Larry again. Okay. Hashtag DMV, got it. Mm-hmm. Hashtag that part. I don't know what that means.
That's just a saying, like when people will be like, it's talking about why something's good, and they'll be like, "Oh, that part," like that's the. Okay. I agree with that, or that's the key kind of thing.
Okay. Vitamin water, is it like when something good, it's infusing vitamins into the health of the No,
it's, I had a discussion with him. I'm not sure if he's fully explained that one publicly, but it's just it's a branding thing basically to make recruits believe that they can come to Maryland and start something big. Whether he comes out with all the details about it, or they're trying to mysterious for the sake of catching people's attention, I don't know. I'm sure it'll come out at some point. Free grandma. I'm sure you might have seen that one.
I did, but go ahead.
There was a popular Maryland recruiting Twitter account that before Malik Washington committed, he posted a picture of a grandma and a kid locked in a cage with a Terps shirt on, and he said, "I'm not letting grandma out until you commit." Yeah, so then when he committed,
so hilarious.
When he committed, he included the phrase "free grandma," and he's been. And then I said the next day, I tweeted that should become their the catchphrase of the recruiting class, because it's funny and curious. It's going to get your attention. So that's kind of become a thing now too. I've made some bad jokes about how Loxley's got a bunch of grandmas sprinting in the streets of College Park looking for somebody to take them in. But yeah, that's that.
Yeah, so Mr. Pope, when you were explaining vitamin water, when I made my guess and then you try to explain it, Mr. Popo just wrote no in the chat. So if you know what it means, then explain it, and then I will relay it to everybody. So let us know. Okay. We have something very special, one of my favorite parts of the show. We have from Wheels, we have non-res report, even during the summer. So here we go. I haven't listened to this. I think he's talking about start dates and everything. Here we go.
Hey everyone, this is Wheels with your Inside Maryland Sports non-revenue sports report. I'm back. We're just going to kind of set the table for fall teams, upcoming seasons. We're going to start with men's soccer, looking to bounce back from really historically bad season, a season they haven't had in more than 2 decades. They start on August 10th with an exhibition game at Pittsburgh, and they will begin their regular season on August 22nd in a game at UMBC in Baltimore.
That's coming
Field hockey's coming off a Big Ten runner-up season and an NCAA tournament team. Yeah. They play ODU on August 18th in an exhibition game down in Norfolk before they start their regular season against perennial national power Louisville on August 30th. We're going to finish up with women's soccer. The Terps had a really rough 2023 season and are hoping to rebound after bringing in a very highly regarded recruiting class. They play an exhibition game at Bucknell on August 10th, and they open their regular season
at
Lehigh
Lehigh on August 15th.
Live show at Bucknell?
That's it for your non-revenue sports report. Take care, everyone.
Live show at Bucknell.
That's my favorite joke.
I know, yes. Every time there's a very, this
random,
innocuous, All right, so
Field Hockey Live show at Belmont.
I was gonna end the show. I have over under, and Paul was gonna join late. He texted us and said he was able to join, but it was in the middle of the Lox interview, and so he ended up deciding not to interrupt that.
That was a smart
But
move.
I have 6 over unders. Do you want them, or what do you want to do? Okay. All right, over under. Here we go. Maryland's final 2025 football recruiting class ranking, over under 30.
Under. I think it's they got a good shot at top 25.
There we go. Maryland football wins this upcoming season, over under 6.5.
I keep getting asked that one. It's so hard because the offense. If it wasn't for the offensive line and quarterback questions, which obviously that's like saying if I wasn't missing an arm, I'd be a major league pitcher or whatever. But if it wasn't for those two things, that's a clear over because they have. I feel like this team has more spread out talent and depth than they've had in forever. They just don't have those proven star kind of guys, especially at those two spots. The schedule's easier than it's been in a long time. They should be favored in those first 5 or 6 games, so I'll say over.
There we go. Maryland's final 2025 basketball recruiting class ranking, over under 20.
Basketball class rankings, as we've discussed, are so hard to really rely on just because they're so based on whether you took 2 guys or 5 guys. It's not like college where that evens out because everybody's kind of taking roughly the same number of players, and it's a much larger number of players, so the data is more reliable. It should be in that range. It's really hard to guess. I hardly even look at the basketball ones, to be honest, just for that reason and because of the portal. I'd say over. I think they should have a good shot with the guys I mentioned, Jordan Scott and Chris Jeffrey and some of these other guys. So, I'll say over, but you never know. They might decide we only want to take 3 high school kids and then save the rest for the portal, and then you're not going to have a high ranking.
Right. Maryland basketball wins this upcoming season, over under 20.5. They'd have to go 21-10 to be over. That's regular season only, yeah.
Regular season only. I think if you're being analytical, you probably have to say under. Last season was a rough season. They brought in some really good recruits, obviously. Julian Reese is back, so they have the potential pieces are there, but you got to prove it. You got to prove that you found some shooters after last year. It was painful to watch that team shoot. They definitely have the potential to do more than that, but I think if you're just looking at the cold, hard stats and the roster and things like that, you probably have to go under until proven otherwise.
Number of times you tried to get Mike Locksley on the show before finally succeeding, over under 10.
Way under. I think there's been a couple times that we tried and he couldn't make it. I mean, these head coaches are so busy. The catch with him is that the assistants they don't do any media either, whereas basketball, you might be able to get an assistant here and there. I think that's something he took from Nick Saban, just in terms of having one voice, as they say. But no, I haven't tried that many times. He's been really good to me over the years, but I sometimes, even as a journalist / publisher or whatever else, you don't want to bug the people that you've known for a while too much when everyone's bugging them. But now that he cracked the seal, we'll get him back on hopefully this season.
Let's just get him post game every game. Let's just do that.
I think it's doable.
Yeah. Last one, number of days until the football season, over under 30.
Over, isn't it like 32 or something like that?
It's exactly 30. So it was a trick question. Yes, let's go. Let's go. And add 13 days to that, or will be 13 days is when we'll be doing our live show in Charlottesville, a little bit west of it, at a winery in Charlottesville called Lightwell Survey Winery with our boy Jay Zutant. He's Jay-Z on the message board. We'll be making posts about that. We want you all to come out. It's going to be a massive Maryland celebration right down in Wahoo country. So we want to go down there and take it over.
Yeah, come out and see us. If you're looking for a fun little sports road trip that's not far away, UVA's right up the road and should be a win, although,
it's barely longer to UVA than it is to Maryland for me, where I am in Virginia. Yes, and Steve Suter is already booked as our first guest. We're working on one more possible.
I got to say, I'm disappointed the way you said it. I thought he was traveling there with us. I was thinking this is going to be an amazing wolf pack. situation.
Well, he is going to ride with us like from the hotels to the winery and back. He's just not doing the full 2 hours with us. Or whatever it is for everybody else.
Fair enough. He seems like a fun dude. So
yeah. Yes, he is. He's a lot of fun. And everybody, please do us a favor. Click like, click subscribe, all that stuff. Really helps us out. And we're going to be starting our season up in 2 to 3 weeks here with a football kickoff show. If you subscribe, you'll get, and if you click the notifications, you get notifications. You don't have to do that, but you get all the notifications when the shows are going to happen. So that'd be, and it's cheap, it's free. So,
and while we're plugging, if you are not a premium subscriber to the site, now's the time. 60% off your first year for new annual subscribers. And also, I think we have a upgrade deal with Paramount Plus included for monthly subscribers. So if you somehow still have, given us the stiff arm all these years, give us a try.
Last thing, Mr. Popo did respond about the vitamin water. He said no one knows what it means, but it gets the people going. That's what he said. So there you go.
It gets the people going.
It's provocative. He did say that. All right. Thank you, everybody, for joining. We got 30 days until the season. We got about 43 days until our live show down in Charlottesville. And we think we're going to be doing our season kickoff in about 3 weeks from now. So look for that too. We will make everything widely known on the message board. We'll put all the details. Thank you guys for joining us. This is IMS Radio.